Yes, we are live. I gotta find our chat. Live events. You taught me this. So, hey everybody, just let me set up real quick, and then we'll get going. As you can see, it's me and Full Spectrum Survival on our weekly show.
Yeah, so I wanted to come on here today. There's a couple of things that I really wanted to talk about with Daniel, and one of those was cooking without any grid at all, with no solar, no solar oven. You know, just using materials that are around you for cooking. That's something that's very important to me, and I think that, you know, in our world, we are very, it's in our instinct to want to cook around a fire. But fires take a lot of fuel, and fuel takes a lot of work, and work takes a lot of time. So, you know, when I'm out there in the woods, the whole day, if it's a cold day, if it's going to get below freezing, your whole day could be spent just gathering firewood. So if you're talking about cooking for a homestead or something, you know, you could spend all day gathering firewood. And me and Daniel were talking about some ways to conserve that fuel, conserve your wood. And one of those was with an adobe oven. Mm-hmm. So Daniel, I had never worked with an adobe oven before. You know, all I have is sand here in Florida. Can you tell me how an adobe oven works?
All right. Well, what you're doing is you want a really hot fire. Now it's clay, and okay, the adobe oven's made out of clay, and we harvested the clay from our soil, and we built a over sand. We built a dome over that sand. You know, we just laid the sand in there, and then once it was dry, we dug it out. But anyway, it's pretty much ceramic now. It's gotten so hot. But with the adobe oven, you want to put it really thick too. Okay. It's about 4.5, 5 inches thick of the clay, and on the bottom is another layer of clay. And
so, you know, are you building, when you build an adobe oven, you build an entire half circle, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Well, and then, like you said, you dig out your actual oven part. Do you do that after it's hardened already?
Oh yeah, yeah. You dig it out after it's hardened. We have it takes time, so don't think you're going to be able to do it in a day. But you know, you have to start off, and then you make a big sand castle of it. The easiest way to do is make a big sand castle of your adobe oven the way you want it, and then just start laying the cob or the clay over it, and just forming over the sand castle. And then once that dries, then you just dig out your sand. But you got to make it thick, because with adobe ovens, you want a super hot fire. Okay. And so, and it only takes a few sticks. I mean, a few pieces of wood. You know, like it's still getting your fire. It takes 3 pieces of wood and some small sticks and stuff like that. That's all it takes for the cooking all day long, because all you're doing is getting that super hot in there. And then once it's super hot in there, you let the fire go out and you close the door, and it maintains that temperature all day. I mean, it decreases during the day, but it maintains that. You want to do your like if you're cooking a roast or something like that first, yeah. And then you do your bread, then your desserts, and then you can even slow cook the rest of the night. And me and Krista love to slow cook in it. You know, just put our pots in there and then come back next morning, it's ready.
So okay, so I have a question. Once you have it,
with a stainless steel or a cast iron?
Go ahead. What?
Once you have it ready, you know, whereas if I'm cooking over a campfire, or if I'm just cooking over like a camp stove that's over top of a fire, I'm using a massive amount of fuel. You know, I'm at least using wrist size chunks of fuel. And yeah. All of the radiation from that fire is escaping in multiple directions. So what you're doing with the adobe oven, and correct me if I'm wrong with this, is the radiation is heating up the clay, the ceramic, and then not only is it bouncing it back onto your meal to cook it quick, but it's also staying hot to retain that temperature, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, you're exactly right. It's the fire, it's the smoke's still coming out. There's still a lot of heat loss because you have an opening there, but mostly the fire is going right along the edge of the cob. I mean, it's going right along the edge of your dome, right around the circle, and then right out the door.
Yeah.
So it's maintaining. I mean, it's collecting as much heat as it can at the time, and most Adobe ovens, like mine, actually get so hot. I know it's at the temperature I want it at, which is roughly 700 to 800 degrees, but I like it about 600. But when it starts breathing, it has these cracks in it that kind of separate a little bit, and it just starts breathing a little bit. So it's really neat how you just learn how to cook with something like that.
Yeah, that's a massive amount of temperature, and something that you probably, is there a learning curve there so that you're not burning everything off the get-go?
Oh, me and Krista, we have videos of that. We burned soup. I mean, how could you burn soup? But we burned soup, and we put it in there. We put it in there too hot. It wasn't at the right temperature. Of course, now I can just do it just purely by sight. I mean, and Krista said she's right over there, but she said make a note that it works best with cast iron or stainless steel.
Okay.
You definitely don't want to use aluminum or anything Teflon coated in there, because you're just going to cook it right into your food because it's so hot.
And Teflon, speaking of that, that's such a disastrous product in the first place. But, the Teflon is so poisonous that the FDA has currently ruled that they can't make new Teflon products anymore. However, because it's such a monopoly of money, and that's really, in the government, that's money is the name of the game. They gave these companies, I think it's 6 more years to phase out the Teflon lines that they have. So, that's just like a little glimpse at our world, that right now they know it's bad for you, but they let you keep on using it.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, and if you use scrambled eggs in it and you use a fork or something, you scratch it, where'd that go? You intake that. So that's the poison in your body now. So we don't even use Teflon here. We use all, and it's not the best for you either. Stainless steel is not the best for you either. But out of all of it, besides cast iron, it is the best for you is stainless steel. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, we have found, there are some tricks like with stainless steel. Get your pan very, very hot first, and then you would think you would burn it right away. But even if you're cooking eggs, you want that pan to be scalding hot, and then cook your eggs on it, and they won't stick as much as they will with even with putting oil down.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. Yeah, we try to do that.
So back to the oven. Do you have a chimney? Is gas or smoke or heat escaping in any way?
It only escapes out through the front door. There's no chimney. There are some that have chimneys, but then you're gonna use more fuel to heat it up. So that's why we didn't put a chimney on. And the only reason they have a chimney on it is to keep from getting that black look on the door. I mean, because it smokes up there, and it gets a nice black streak where the smoke is pouring out of there. But it takes more wood to put a chimney on there. So not having a chimney and just having a kind of sooty front Adobe oven is the way to go. So
okay, so I have what do you use as the actual door? What kind of product do you use there? Like an oak wood, a hardwood, or what are you using?
Just plywood.
Plywood, okay.
Just a piece of plywood. Now, only when your fire is out do you put the door on there, and you can probably see in some of my videos that I put the door on there when it's been too hot in there, because you want it hot when we have a pizza stone, and you want it hot when you're cooking biscuits or your breads or your pizza even. So, so it kind of just dries out a little bit. It burns the door a little bit, but I could make one out of oak. Since I have the oak now, I need to do that, but it still works, so I just keep using it.
Yeah, right. Well, if it's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah, and it's not hard to figure out, but I actually used it to I took bricks and actually made the put the 2 pieces of plywood in there, and then took bricks and then cobbed them over it, and then just took out the boards, and it's been my door ever since. So
yeah. Okay, good. So here's a good question. If you build your oven, and if you're in a state where you don't have clay, like here in Florida, there's no clay anywhere, you know, to speak of. I'm sure it's like that in a lot of different states or a lot of different areas throughout the world. If someone, of course, still wants to build an adobe oven just because of its sufficiency value, how much clay should they look at getting, you know, to build an ample size oven that they can put 1 large cast iron in?
Well, I'm sorry. Phone's ringing. Sorry about that.
No, no problem.
No, I wouldn't answer it. Okay, well, now as far as it, your exact measurements, I would say about, I always use 5-gallon buckets. And as far as the clay, sifted clay, it would take, I would say, about 15 5-gallon buckets to do a decent thick size adobe oven.
Okay, so probably 100 pounds, 50 to 100 pounds is, you think, maybe a good estimate?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm sure that people can find it. And I'm looking, you know, for myself too. I'm going to be up there by you soon, but I'm looking for myself, you know, to see how to outsource that kind of thing. I'm sure you could find it so you're not buying 5-pound bags at a time. I'm sure you can get a good load, you know, sent somewhere.
Clay?
Yeah, clay.
Well, if you're moving up this way, then you got plenty.
Yeah, right.
Just go out and dig a hole. You got it. You know.
But for other people watching, you know, how would you suggest they get it? In bulk, like in a 50-pound or 100-pound bag, or?
Yeah, and it's going to be expensive too. So you can buy the dry clay, and it's going to be expensive. We wanted to get some to change the color of our red clay, you know, to make it white or to gray or something like that.
Yeah, right.
But we can go to the creek and get that. So we didn't ever get it, but it's like $9 a bag for 50 pounds.
So anybody that's watching, can you, and me included, can you give me an idea of how long, once you get your fire as hot as it's going to be and your oven walls as hot as they're going to be, how long does it take to cook an average meal? What's a great meal for someone to start with that they have a lesser risk of burning?
Pizza.
Pizza? Okay.
Pizza, yeah. Then once the pizza's done, or biscuits, you know, you cook it 400 or 500 degrees too. And bread, you let it get down a little bit to 350. Now it's going to maintain 400 to 350 for about 6 hours. And
Yeah.
so, you know, during that time you cook casseroles, you can cook you know, soups, you can slow cook soups. Well, yeah, there's just so many things that we cook in it. Baked chicken, bake of roast, bread, cakes, yeah, everything.
So if you were talking for like a community, a small community, 5 to 6 houses, 5 to 6 families, how many ovens should they have? Should every person have one, or should they line up 5 or 6 so that they can all be utilized? What would you suggest?
I'd suggest just make them one,
Okay.
and just fired up, and everybody cook on it all day. I mean, that's the reason we have ours where it's at. It's kind of in an odd place for us, but it's so that other people can use it while we got it cooking. I mean, nobody's else has used it,
Yeah.
but while it's cooking, then they could come and throw bread in there. It's big, you know. It's got plenty of room in there. You know, it could probably hold probably about 10 loaves of bread. You know.
Nice. Yeah. What you know what I'd like to do with you, Daniel, while I'm up there is, in India they make a bread on the side of the wall of an inverted circle. So they make almost, you know, those fish tanks that have just the hole at the top and then it's a dome at the bottom.
Yeah.
They keep the hole at the top, and it's like an upside down adobe oven almost. They make it very hot in there, and then they take their bread, they roll it out real thin, and then they smack it along the inside lining. And it makes almost like big big tortilla shells, something like that.
Oh yeah, awesome. Yeah,
So
that would be good. I want to learn how to do that too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. Okay, so Adobe Oven aside, and we put in there, and we'll have to put it down in the description too, your video and other information on how to make one, so someone watching this later could come back and see. I wanted to talk to you today about solar and its importance, because it's like every day now you look and somewhere someone is talking about solar, not just in our community, but online on news outlets. It's finally, after so many years, starting to become more mainstream. And what that's going to do for all of us is drive the price down, which is very good. So anybody who doesn't have solar yet really can start considering it as an option. What are your thoughts on someone finding out how much they really need and going at a minimum for discovering how much solar they're going to really require? Or do you have just like a blanket calculation?
Well, now they sell this thing at Walmart. It is a wattage meter, and it tells how much electricity your appliances are going to use. So if you're wanting to run certain appliances on there, just plug it up there and see what your report is for 24 hours.
Yeah, we have one of those. It's called, at least our brand is Kilowatt, KILLAWATT.
Yeah, Kilowatt, and find out what it runs for the day. Or if you're just planning, if you're in a pre-existing house and you're getting an electricity bill each month and you want to keep living the exact same way you are, then you just look at your kilowatts used during the month on your electricity bill. They give you that list, and when you find out how many you use, then you just design your system around that to match. And you're going to want more because you're going to have cloudy days and that kind of stuff. So, but yeah,
now, go ahead.
Solar is somebody. Normal people, unless you're just rich, and I hate to say it like that, normal people, if you want to get into solar, then you just need to adjust your life just a little bit. You change your stove from electric to propane, and that's going to save, a pile of money. So, it's just all about changing your lifestyle a little bit if you're a normal person like me, like us.
Well, and I think, you said kind of just look at your bill, and I think that is a really good way. But I think that the danger that exists there is that no matter what, if you're on the grid, you live in some form of excess. You're probably not worried about every light being off, turning that light off as soon as you leave the room. You're probably not thinking about every second that the refrigerator is open, and I think that, like you said, you have to bring that down a little bit. You probably need to look at and say, maybe a person could do like a month-long trial, pick the date of the period for their bill and try to go with as little as possible. And then they could use those numbers to see how many watts they need.
Well, that's an ingenious idea, because you're right. I mean, people on the grid, they aren't going to worry about leaving a light on, half the day or something, whereas us being off grid and living on solar, if I come by a light and nobody's there, I'm clicking it off. And
right.
Which we're pretty good about turning off the lights anyway. But
what I'd like to do, what I made for our tiny home when we had it, and what I'd like to kind of make with you is an infrared sensor that shuts off the power when no one's been around. So if it's a normal room, if someone's moving around, someone's in there, it'll go on, but once they leave, it turns off, so the light will turn off.
Well, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's I'd like some of those, but it's all about learning to live off solar. I personally like a fan, so I like a fan. I like the movement of air, and if I want that fan, I'm not going to sit there and burn lights all day long. So
right.
So it's changing your life to meet not having a bill.
Yeah, right. And there's little things too, like we had I'm just calling it a hokey because that's what my Polish grandmother called it, but one of those manual vacuums where there's no power to it. It just picks up dirt and everything by the movement of the you moving the vacuum around. So having something like that instead of a vacuum, because things like vacuums, your dishwashers, those are all power hogs.
Yeah, we got one that's called what is ours called? A broom? Yeah, it's a broom. Yeah, we have a broom. Yeah, so yeah, vacuums are power hogs, hair dryers, coffee makers, can openers, electric can openers. We just have the manual kind. So
right. Yeah, us too. Just because even when we moved back to the city, we kept that same lifestyle just because it's the smartest thing to do. And even here in Florida, where in the summer, if you don't have, and they really started making houses, disgustingly, they make them dependent upon air conditioning and central air, because if you don't have it, you're getting mold buildup because they don't have proper airflow, windows, anything like that. So, but even with all that, we were able to keep our electrical bill down to $50 to $60.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, in the summer. So, we just kept that same lifestyle. We don't have a light in here that isn't LED. We're like you. We like fans, hand can opener. My wife and I are the dishwashers, and the kids when we make them. And, just do as much as you can.
Yeah, that's us. I mean, it's harder on Krista, but I help out. I mean, that's because not having the modern conveniences, that means all the dishes have to be washed. So
let me tell you a funny story. So we actually went as far as to having the stainless steel army plates, which were the multi-section, old school army plates. And everyone had their plate, and you used that plate for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or whatever you ate, and you took it to the sink and washed it when you were done.
Yeah, Krista wants that now. That now we got a new rule yesterday. If when you're done with your bowl or your plate, you wash it off and you put it up there to dry, so that we don't build up on dishes. So, which we don't mind, and I help out cooking, and because it's all about being a team too, and you probably know that too. So.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So another thing about solar. This morning you put out a video about your charge controllers. Can you tell me, why does a person need a charge controller? What's it for, and how is yours different than the China one that comes inside some of the kits?
Okay. Well, the China ones, for one thing, they use more electricity than they actually produce. And if you want the power from your solar panels, you don't need to send both positive and negative to the charge controller. If you're doing that, then you're wasting electricity. What you want from your solar panels to your batteries with your negative wire. I mean, wires, straight shot. But now, the China made ones are just junk, and they're cheap though, and I use them for several years. I mean, I lived off solar one time, the first time, for 9 years. It was off China made stuff the whole time. But we would have to replace an inverter once a year, and then charge controllers. But the reason you want a charge controller is that you're charging your batteries from the sun, and the solar panels don't have a cutoff switch on them. They don't know when to cut off. They will keep charging your batteries up until the point that they explode. Now that I have Edison batteries, nickel iron batteries, they can charge all day long, 24/7, and they'll never explode. They can sit there and boil. So it's good for them to do that. But anyway, so a charge controller, and I happen to have one right here. I'll show y'all. So this is a 24-volt charge controller. Of course, we manufacture them here now, so
and you're making those there at your homestead, right?
Yeah, I'm making them here, and
so will you lift it back up? I have a question about it.
Yes. Okay.
Okay. So on the microcomputer there, the controller, what's the LEDs that the person's going to see? What does that indicate?
that indicates your battery voltage.
Okay.
And it depends on what size your battery bank is. It can be 12 volt, 24 volt, 36 volt, 48 volt, 72 volt, and it's going to show up there of what your battery voltage is. Now you push these little buttons, these two little buttons right here.
Yep.
You set it to when you want the charge controller to kick on and when you want it to kick off. So if this was 24 volt, I'd want it to kick on when it was like 24.1.
Yeah.
24 volts, 0.1. I'd want the charge controller to kick on and then cut off at like 25.8. So,
Okay.
so that I'd like to stay in that range. But now the special thing about these is that you're just splitting the hot wire when you come in here from your solar panels. You're just splitting the hot wire. It's just like you would hook up a light switch.
Okay.
Now you split that hot wire and it goes directly to your batteries again. So you're cutting out, saving yourself a bunch of wire that the cheap China made ones, that they do. But now you see these two bottom ones here? You can actually program your little microcomputer here.
Yep.
To when the batteries are full, when it's at 25.8, whatever you set it at, it'll send this charge to something else. So
yeah,
you can send that to a hot water heater element, in which we do that. So we get hot showers now, and living off grid, hot showers is something that it's huge. I mean, because you have to heat your water, and it takes a great amount of
energy. Yeah, one way or
energy.
Another. Right.
Yeah, which with us would be with fire, but we do have propane too. So.
Okay, now Mindy in the chat room asked, do you have a place that people can copy that design? Now, from what I understood talking to you, you had some proprietary work done there for your design, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say the best thing to do, Mindy, is just contact Daniel. I know from talking with him, and I have some experience with like PCB boards and getting them built. There was no way that I could get them less expensive than Daniel got them. So. And that's even with going to, China, Japan, India. So I would say just talk with him offline, send him a message and ask him, about acquiring one. We asked in the chat room, Daniel, if my kilowatt usage is over 5,000, what size system and how many batteries would I need?
Oh, 5,000 kilowatt hours. Now, is that a month? I'm going to say that's a month, and hope you don't use that much, but okay. A month, that would be good, but what we would do would break it down to, you divide it into, I'd have to have a calculator, but you divide it into 30 days.
Yep.
And then you would need to produce that. You have roughly 12 hours a day of daylight that you're producing electricity, so you would break it down to how much kilowatts would I have to produce each hour to produce that 5,000 kilowatts. So it's just.
So let's break it down for him real quick and just do a quick one. At 5,000 divided by 30, if it was a 30-day month, is 166 kilowatts per day. Now, like you said, you have to break that down even further, right?
Yeah, to the hour of the day. So yeah, divided into 12, like of 12-hour days.
So 13.
13 kilowatts. Wow.
You got a lot of panels, a roof full of panels.
Yeah, you got a roof full of panels. You would need, okay, my panels are each panel is 255 watts, but hooking them together, you add plus 3%, which is, you build up a little bit, but technically you would need 4 of my panels per, just to make 1,000. And what was that again per hour?
13.
13 kilowatts. Wow.
So divided by
4.
50. You would need 52 panels.
52 panels. Yeah.
Give or take some,
Yeah, that's and that's a month, and I hope that's your usage for a month. And
yeah, he said that's central air. And I assume that you probably have a bigger house, but whether you do or don't, really, I think it's about getting whatever you can off of the grid.
Yeah.
So even if, that seems astounding. That seems like such a far goal. But, you know, take it back a little bit and say, I'm going to start somewhere and I'm going to get my lighting and my fans off the grid.
Yes.
And so you do how much you need for your lights and your fans. And then you at least can take a breath and say, okay, I have, you know, if the power goes out, I still have fans and lights. Now I want to get my refrigerator off the grid. And you just kind of like manage it that way. Do you think that's a good suggestion, Daniel?
Oh, that's what I tell everybody. But I say, first thing I always suggest to everybody is get your refrigerator off first thing, you know, because if something happens, you know, refrigerated food, you know, a lot of people do without refrigerators, so you know that may be not the best advice.
Yeah.
But you can, with one panel, you can get your lights off. If you use LED lights, you can get every light in your house off with one solar panel. So that's a big step, you know, so you'd never have electricity bill for any light in your house if you just had one panel.
Which is nice. You could say, you know, that'd be a nice thing to look back at and go, okay, you know, we said great grandma, Brad. You know, if you could look back and you say, no matter what, all of my lights are off grid. You know, you at least if the storm comes through or if something happens with the grid, you can have the lights on, which is a huge comfort in everyone's mind.
Yeah, that's a funny story. That's a funny story there. Now, when everybody else's power goes off, we still have power, and people still call us. Is your power on? Yes, we're on solar. So you know, the people come driving by here real slow. They're like, "Why is their power off?" And there was the hurricane, you know, a few years back, and everybody else didn't have power, but we didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah. Two questions in here. The first one I think is right on topic, so we'll get that first. Carol says, what size panel? And you were talking about a 250 watt panel. And what kind of amp hour battery should a person get if they wanted to take their lights off?
Get a golf cart battery or a deep cycle battery, a boat deep cycle battery. If you're going to go with 12 volt, 12 volt's going to be your cheapest. So you can get a 12 volt inverter, a 12 volt charge controller, you know, and a 12 volt battery. But see, if you have 6 volt, then you get even more amp hours. Now, like my batteries, I have 6 volt batteries, and I've used 6 volt batteries for the 9 years I was living off grid. But now I have nickel iron batteries, and they are 1.2 volts. So, and they have 240 amp hours in it. So I have 20 of them in series. So just say 10. So quick math there, but that's 2,040 amp hours I have, and double that for what I have. So that's 4,800. You know, so that's how many amp hours I have now because of the different size battery. The lower the voltage, the more amp hours you're going to have. But just start off with 12 volt. You know, start out with something simple. You know, I need to do a simple system just to show everybody how
I'll tell you what, here's what I'd like to do. We set up a solar panel, even a small one, even a 100 watt panel, and a small battery system, and we run 3 LED lights for indefinitely, and we put a little webcam on it that people can always come on and see that the power is always on, and that it could never drain as much as the sun gives it back. Yeah,
that's a good idea. Yeah, we can if we don't have a 100 amp panel, I have solar cells. We can actually build the panel, and you know, just
nice
show everybody how to build a panel at the same time. And I saw the Minuteman question about the steam generator.
Yep.
Right. Is that the one you were talking about?
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest.
Yeah. Now, I have looked into steam generators, and that is something that I'm very interested in. Me and a friend took an old lawnmower and turned it into a steam engine, and it was working good. It just it leaked so much because the piston had rubber O-rings around it, so
Yeah.
just burn them out.
Right.
So it blew past so much, but I could see a decent motor, without the rubber piston rings in there. I could see it working and creating my own steam engine. I've seen one done out of a weed eater, and I'd like to duplicate that myself. I have 2 weed eaters just for that project, just sitting in my junk. One day when I have time,
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that and
See how it goes.
yeah. I mean, because you can make a simple boiler out of a pressure cooker,
Right.
and just vent it out, and the steam comes out through it. Not too much of a hose because it'll turn into a condensing hose, but you want to keep it steam, so you insulate that hose to get to your piston, and there you go.
Yeah, right. Okay, so Mindy asked, how do you determine how many batteries to have? Which, this is probably a tough question that you can barely even scratch the surface of it online. I think all of these, especially when we did, it really took some math, and it took some time to sit down and make sure that we had it right. Do you have any words of wisdom there for how many batteries?
Well, now, okay, when you're doing, if your appliances will have amps on them too, how many amps they use, and that's how many amps they use per hour. So if your refrigerator, say, uses 5 amps per hour for 24/7, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so 24 times 5 is it's close to 100 and, well, I don't even know, 20.
Hold on, I'll get you
120.
Yeah,
And
120.
now they would take 120 amp hours to run your refrigerator, right? Now, if you pick out a battery that's 240 amp hours, like a golf cart battery, so that battery, now this is technical, and I'm trying not to get too technical, but you can't run it below 50% or you're going to ruin your battery. But anyway, if you could run it below 50%, you could run that for 2 days.
Okay.
Your battery would run it for 2 days, but technically it would only run 1 day, and then you'd have to fill it back up. But
Charge it back up, right?
yeah.
Now,
Because go ahead.
what type of systems are in place so that when your battery gets below that amount, it doesn't continue to try to drain it?
Well, my inverter actually cuts off at 50%.
Okay.
So and I can override it and make it do that, but I don't do that because regular batteries have a limited lifetime. They only have so many times they can be charged, so many times they can be drained. So if you fill one all the way, charge it fully up, and then you use it all the way down, you took off one life, and that's a big thing to a battery. So you charge it. The best thing to do is only use about 25% of the power, and then charge it back up. And so you got 4 times as long. They got 2-year warranties on the batteries, and usually that's when they die, after 2 years. The manufacturers pretty much know that. I think they automatically put something in there to kill the battery after 2 years, but you can bring them back to life. And I have used batteries. I still have some batteries from 1996 that I bought, and just bring them back to life. Since the 90s.
That's nice. Yeah. Now, would you say a person is better? What's the best type of battery for them to be looking for?
Now, a big company is with a good warranty is probably the way you want to go. Interstate, or it's something that you can readily go run down the store and say, this battery's messing up, and replace it, because it's going to happen on solar. You're gonna have those nights. I know during the summertime, in the middle of the night. See, I know this. Try not to get too technical.
Sure.
But,
yeah. Right.
But actually, solar works better during the wintertime because it works on cool temperatures. But you never want to put your panels on your house because it's too hot, and they decrease by at least a quarter just from the heat. But in the wintertime they work better, but in summertime, you know, the fan would go off and like in the middle of the night, it'd be 80 degrees and they're like, oh
Yeah.
no. So I just go put gas in there. There we go.
Yeah. And
So,
now for someone looking to start small, where could they get solar panels? You know, do you have an outlet that they could come to you and get them through you, or?
yes. Now I used to install solar panels for a living. I don't really do it anymore because you know,
It's
the
a tough
people,
job. Yeah, it's
well,
a tough
people,
job, and people don't understand what they're asking for.
yes, and they don't, and they're expecting more than the panels can actually do, and that I've, you know, unless they're just doing it for a hobby, you know, then you know that's they're, you know, but I'd just rather not get involved with that. But yes, I am a wholesaler and I can get panels for people, and we do it quite often. People would ask me, can you get me panels? And then I'll call my friends, whoever's looking for panels, and then
Right.
we'll make a bulk order of panels and we'll have them all shipped here, and then everybody just come pick up their panels. So,
Nice.
but roughly you could, you know, counting shipping and everything, you can get like a 250 watt panel for about $130.
Nice. Okay, good. Yeah, okay. Well,
With,
that's something that someone can, you know, can really put some thought towards and actually really start to think about it now and put a you know, dollar amount next to how much they can afford to try and at what increments they need to start, you know.
yeah, exactly. This I mean, that's, and actually, if anybody's interested, there's a few people that are wanting uh, to make an order of panels, and actually, the more panels I can order at once, the chepest they are. I mean, I have actually gotten panels before for $71 a piece,
Wow.
and with a 25-year warranty on them. So, so, but we ordered 4 pallets of panels. It was,
Yeah, it's quite a few.
yeah. So, yeah,
Now, and that's something else I was going to ask you about, and that's the warranty has really come along on panels. Like you said, batteries have a more limited lifespan, but panels, they've really gone above and beyond the warranty process and started giving you 25, sometimes even more year warranties, which is huge because that's nice for you to be able to say, I'm investing in this, but if it breaks in 5 years and it's not because I chainsawed the tree down on top of it,
yeah,
then I can get a new one.
yeah. No, yeah. Now, like if you're investing into this, you're investing into your future. Now, and I try to explain this to everybody. You know, you're gonna have to change your life. You're gonna have to adjust your life to live off solar. You can't do things the way you normally would do, but if you can make a couple of adjustments, you'll be just fine. Now, batteries, you know, I tell everybody get the best batteries you can afford.
Right.
So don't go buy the cheapest batteries or used batteries because they're just going to do you no good. You're going to burn them up in 3 or 4 months.
Now, somebody's asking in the chat room, do you have any experience with micro inverters and their conversion to AC?
Now, I have installed them before, and you know, this is just one company. I don't know all of them, but they actually used, you know, like the ratio. You see the ratio, like my inverter. I'm just going to pull out some numbers, and
Yeah.
now it's 93% efficient. That means it takes 7% of the power I produce to run my inverter. Now those
Okay.
micro inverters are like 72% efficient.
Yeah.
So, and you know, they plug right into the wall. So I have seen some that are like 78% efficient, but there's stipulations in there. You got to read the fine print, but it adds up to be like only 60% efficient on those micro inverters. So truthfully, in my experience, I would stay away from them. You know, and
Well, they're
try
more
to.
expensive off the bat, aren't they?
Well, they're not really that bad. They're about $100 and something a piece.
Okay.
I mean, you could get a deal on them, and they plug right to your wall and they'll produce power right into your wall. But you know, you're losing 40% of your your power you could be, using. That's why you need something, a decent inverter and a decent charge controller.
Yeah.
I mean, this actually uses 1/100th of a kilowatt to run that little mini brain. So you're not wasting any of your power. It just
Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, Suburban Hillbilly asked, doing some videos on solar for beginners. I think that's a good series, that someone should pick up on, and taking it from that raw, here's how you light one light bulb. Here's how you light, 10 light bulbs. Here's how you light a fan and some light bulbs, and then kind of, taking it a step up. And even if it wasn't huge, there's so many there's so many videos of misinformation or of not complete information out there, that I think that maybe, there could be some gaps that are bridged with just seeing, here's the system and here it is working.
Yeah, and maybe build up to a refrigerator. I mean, yeah, that's a real good idea. That would be. I mean, maybe we can build a panel or something like that. I mean, that's going to be an expense, and but yeah, that is a fabulous idea. And that's another thing. Air conditioning. You have a little air conditioner that only uses like what is your wattage of your air conditioner?
I just pulled it back out of the shed. It's not what we're using here in this house. It was what we had on the tiny house with our solar setup. But I'm going to be bringing it up there, so we'll be able to get all the specs and everything, because we ran the AC off of solar. The only problem we had was we had to get a large sine wave inverter, because like most things, they draw a lot right when they start, but it wasn't too much to keep it going after that.
Yeah, so you told me the low numbers it runs. I need one of those. But as far as going to the Lowe's and buying you an air conditioner or something like that, then you might as well forget your solar system, because you're going to burn up your batteries quick. Unless you got nickel iron batteries, and guess what? This year I'm probably going to have an air conditioner.
Yeah. I know we're running out of time, Daniel, but WeTree said, Daniel, on the cost of the panels, does that include shipping?
Yes, when enough people order them. See, I start out with how many people going there, and I go to the wholesaler and I say, got 20 panels, orders for 20 panels. I say, I got an order for 20 panels. How much can you give them to me? And they're going to be higher because it's not a great big bulk number. So he's going to have to split apart a pallet and stack it. So yeah, it'll, when we make a bulk order, it'll include shipping and everything. And I'll tell everybody and let everybody know what's going to cost you. $140 for panels, $150 for panels, $120. Even with enough people, that could be under, $100 like we did before.
Yeah, right. Okay, so that's fair. Just get enough people together and you can start building. Carol asks, would there be something like this at Sand Mountain?
Yes. Actually, there's going to be you're talking about Sand Mountain, the community homestead. Sand Mountain. I forgot the name. I'm bad. That's bad.
No, she wasn't talking about the Cobathon, was she?
Well, yeah, that's where it's going to be, up there at Short Creek.
Short Creek, right?
Yeah, but actually, there's a couple of inventions that are going to be there. These charge controls going to be there, but I'm also introducing a plug and play solar system. It'll have everything you need that just dropped off, secured to the ground, and you just wire it in your house, and you have an emergency backup solar system. Or you can make it to where it's total solar system. But yeah, this is a new invention I've been working on, and I have to have help because we don't have the finances here. But we're gonna introduce that at this event, the homestead event. Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah. She said Short Creek, so that's what she was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna do something like that. So it's gonna be something you've never seen before at this Short Creek. So
Nice. Okay, good. Well, Daniel, I know we were up on time. I think we were only going for a half hour, and we're 51
yeah,
into it now.
yeah.
So we had a lot of good stuff to talk about. Did you have anything else that was on your plate or agenda?
Oh no, I just talk too much.
No, this is great information. Things, obviously there is a need for this, and I wish that I had you around while me and Kelly first did our when we took it off the grid, because you would have saved us literally weeks of research. So, it's great that everyone is able to kind of pick your brain and get some good information and know what's a good thing to do and then what's a bad thing to do as far as solar goes.
Yeah, exactly. And I have some videos out there that which you're not going to like it when you go watch them, but it's like the nasty truth about solar, and
Yeah.
it's the nasty truth about solar and air conditioning. But it's the truth, and I did make a mistake. I said 5,000 watts, and I mean 5,000 amps, and I meant watts or something like that, and but everybody nailed me on that. But it's already too late.
Hey, before we go, WeTree asked how many panels come on a pallet.
The 250 24.
24. Okay. So
24.
I think he was asking because I think you had mentioned once you get up into ordering a pallet or multiple pallets, you can get some price breaks.
Oh yeah, I can really, if I'm getting like that, I think that order where I got them for like $71 a piece. I think we ordered 120 panels, and
Okay. Yeah. So you're up at 5 pallets.
yeah, I was telling him, look, I'm gonna go someplace else unless you give me a good deal on these. And of course, I kept knocking him down. I hate to be that way, but it's business. They're making money,
Yeah, right.
and I'm trying to save everybody else money. So
Well, and at the end of the day, a company is only going to sell it for as little as they're going to sell it for, and as a consumer, as a buyer, putting your hard-earned money into it, you don't want to pay more than you have to pay.
yeah, and they make commission. Every solar panel company out there, they all make commission. Don't let them fool you.
Sure.
Because they don't. They're out to make money. So
yeah, right. Okay, good. Well, we covered a lot of things. Thanks for having me on, Daniel. And I think we're going to do you on my channel next week, right?
Right. Yeah. Next week
Okay.
we'll do your channel, and then you do your channel for a couple of weeks, and then
switch
over again. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for being in here. I really appreciate it, and all the mods. And don't forget you were going to make Suburban Hillbilly a mod before we left out here.
Yeah. I'll make them a mod, and I have to do it in the community. I don't know how to do it in here unless somebody just wants to tell me how to do it in here.
Yeah, if you just hover over Suburban Hillbilly's name, there'll be 3 little dots on the right-hand side. You should be able to click and then make this person a moderator. As we're wrapping up, so we're going to have Daniel's going to come over and talk on our channel next week. I'm not sure if we're going to do Thursday because I do the Thursday night show too.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do like Wednesday afternoon. But we'll announce it beforehand so that everyone has a chance to kind of make it in their schedule. I want to talk a couple of things. One of the things that I really want to discuss with you, Daniel, is regarding growing and yield, as far as what's the best thing to put your time and effort into, not just for if a disaster strikes, but also for every day. If someone only has 1 container, what should they use? So don't answer it yet. We'll cover it next week, and hope everyone will join us there.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me on, and I wanted to answer that. I was like,
I know, that's why I said don't answer it yet.
I got some things I could talk about. Yeah, about having a garden too. That we can talk about having a garden that everybody else doesn't know it's a garden. It just looks like a pile of weeds there. So
that's right. Yeah, guerrilla gardening is huge, and one of the big things that I really advocate is prepare for a disaster, but then live like you're not preparing. Because once you prepare for a disaster, like even if you just have your solar, even if you just have lights and a fan on solar, you're prepared for a disaster. But then you can just keep growing this, and then you're self-sustainable. And so, you're kind of bridging those gaps together.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I look forward to working with you. This is going to be awesome in the shows we're doing, because you're very intelligent, and I really enjoy talking to you. But I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream because I keep you too long every time. I'd run my mouth, you know. But
well, guys, thank you so much for having so many good questions, and hopefully I wouldn't say plan on it yet, but let's in the next month or so, Daniel, let's keep talking about it with people, and let's maybe get an order together. It seems like a lot of people, you know, especially as they recover from the holidays and sort of get into the new year, let's make plans to get at least something on solar in this year.
yeah, well, I already have one in the works. So yeah, so anybody that's interested, yes, please do. It'll take about a month to negotiate and everybody get their money together.
Sure.
So yeah, that'll work good.
Okay, good. Well, thank you guys. Thanks for everyone being here, and thanks, Daniel, for having me on.
All right, thank y'all. Y'all have a good one. Later, guys.